Welcome in, everybody. We're diving deep today into the fascinating world of Xiaohongshu. It's a Chinese social media platform, and, it's really making waves by blending community and commerce in a way that just feels more human. You know what I mean? More human than what we're used to. Our guide for today is this 2025 article. It's called Understanding Xiaohongshu, From the Essence of Community to the Road of Commercialization, and it's by Alibaba Global Initiatives. I have to say, even before digging into the article itself, the whole vibe of this platform is super intriguing.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They're definitely doing things their own way. It's really refreshing. I mean, think about it. Most tech companies are completely obsessed with efficiency and data, right?
For sure.
But Xiaohongshu, they've built a company culture that actually prioritizes aesthetics and genuine connection.
Yeah, it's almost like they're going out of their way to be unconventional, like their offices are in Shanghai,
Right.
in that super expensive Xintiandi district.
Yeah.
And they have these like wildly themed conference rooms, all based on different art styles. So different from the typical minimalist open plan offices that we're so used to seeing in tech.
It's definitely a statement. It's like they're saying this is who we are and this is what we value. And it goes even deeper than just the decor. There's a real emphasis on employee well-being and personal growth. It's like they're saying we want our employees to be happy and creative and connected to each other, and that just naturally feeds into the overall community feel of the platform.
I could see that. But honestly, isn't that a bit risky? All that focus on the quote unquote soft stuff could come at the expense of, efficiency and profits, right?
I know what you mean. But that's the fascinating part. The article actually argues that this approach is their secret weapon. So by creating this strong internal culture, they're able to attract users who are drawn to those same values, authenticity and aesthetics.
So they're not just building a platform, they're building a community of like-minded people. The article mentions three specific elements that are key to Xiaohongshu's community success.
Yeah, let's break those down. First, you've got the media format. Their primary content is called Notes, and it's brilliant because it really captures that personal word-of-mouth feeling that users crave. It's less about polished professional content and more about genuine sharing and recommendations.
Yeah, it's like sharing a secret with a friend, right?
Way.
But even with the right format, you still need the right people. And it seems like Xiaohongshu was very deliberate about who they attracted to the platform early on.
100%. They focused on users who were already passionate about lifestyle, beauty, and authenticity. They basically set the tone from the very beginning and curated a community that shared those values.
Gotcha. So the first two elements are about creating the right environment and attracting the right people. But then comes a really hard part, maintaining that community feel as the platform grows, which is, easier said than done. The article calls this continuous intervention, and I'm really curious to know what that actually looks like in practice.
You can think of it as like a constant balancing act. So Xiaohongshu has to resist the temptation to chase short-term gains, like overloading the platform with ads, for example. Instead, they're constantly making decisions to prioritize the long-term health and authenticity of the community.
So it's like they're gardening in a way, constantly pruning and tending to keep things healthy and vibrant.
A great analogy.
But what specifically draws users to Xiaohongshu? What keeps them coming back for more?
Well, the article highlights two key things: authenticity and beauty. Let's start with authenticity. Users really value that the content on Xiaohongshu feels genuine and unfiltered, and the platform actively works to combat fake reviews and overly staged content.
So it's not just about attracting authentic content, it's about actively weeding out the fake stuff.
Exactly.
That must be a constant battle.
It is. The stakes are high, too.
Yeah.
The article even quotes someone saying that encountering fake content on Xiaohongshu feels like a boyfriend has changed his mind. Ouch.
Wow. That's a powerful analogy. Okay, so we've got authenticity. What about the beauty aspect? It seems like Xiaohongshu is very much about showcasing an aspirational lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's not just about showing like picture-perfect lives. It's about helping users discover new ways to enhance their own lives. That could be through fashion travel or even something like the urban cycling trend that the article mentions.
Urban cycling, how does that fit in with a platform that's all about beauty and lifestyle?
So what's interesting is that the Xiaohongshu operations team doesn't just observe trends, they actively identify and support them. So they noticed users were taking up urban cycling, but also facing challenges like a lack of bike-friendly rest stops, for example.
So they saw a need and stepped in to fill it.
Exactly. They collaborated with businesses to create better cycling experiences, essentially shaping the community by addressing those needs. And that's what I call proactive community building.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. You've got the culture, the values, the active community management. But here's what I'm struggling with. How do they translate all this into a successful business? Because at the end of the day, they need to make money right.
That's the million-dollar question, and
Yeah.
it's definitely something we'll be unpacking as we continue our deep dive.
Okay, so we're back, and I'm honestly still kind of grappling with how Xiaohongshu balances this like super strong community focus with the realities of, actually running a business. It almost seems counterintuitive.
Right, but that's the beauty of it. They've somehow managed to weave their values into every single aspect of the business, even like how they define their content strategy. The article mentioned that they use phrases like sincere sharing. I get this, the 15-degree angle.
The 15-degree angle.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is that all about?
So it's about capturing a feeling and aesthetic. Instead of like rigid rules and formats.
Mm.
They encourage users to find that sweet spot where the image feels natural and effortlessly beautiful. It's subtle, but it says so much about their whole philosophy.
Yeah, so it's less about dictating and more about inspiring. I can definitely see how that would appeal to users who value authenticity, but how does that translate to working with brands and businesses? Wouldn't that lack of like clear-cut guidelines be super frustrating for them?
You think so, right? I mean, a lot of businesses are used to very specific metrics and rules. But Xiaohongshu is like challenging that whole mindset.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're saying, trust the vibe, focus on genuine connection, and the results will follow.
I guess that takes a certain leap of faith for both the platform and the businesses that want to be a part of it. But it all comes back to this core idea that people matter. It's not just a slogan, it's woven into the DNA of the entire company.
100%. And it starts with who they hire. So they specifically seek out people who are already like heavy users of Xiaohongshu, individuals who genuinely understand and enjoy the community.
So they're not just looking for talented marketers or salespeople, they're looking for people who already get it, who are already a part of the tribe.
Exactly. They're building a team of passionate advocates,
Yeah.
not just employees. And then they reinforce that by creating a work environment that reflects those values.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful spaces, unique perks, a culture of personal growth.
Sure. But let's be realistic for a moment. Not everyone is going to be a perfect fit, even with careful hiring. So how do they manage the inevitable clashes of personality and working styles that come with, having a large team?
That's a good question. So instead of like rigid hierarchies and top-down decision-making,
Yeah.
they emphasize open dialogue and consensus building. The article mentions that when conflicts arise, they actually break people into groups and encourage them to hash things out until they reach a shared understanding.
Sounds like a lot of meetings, but I guess it's more about fostering a culture of communication and collaboration, right?
It is. And remember, the goal of all that talking is to make sure that every decision aligns with user needs. It's not just about keeping employees happy, it's about keeping the community at the heart of everything they do.
And what's interesting is they don't just rely on data to understand those needs, they actively seek out direct user feedback.
Right. The article talks about how they organize trips for employees to visit users in their homes and like have real conversations about their experiences. They even encourage employees to participate in trending activities like that urban cycling thing we talked about to get firsthand insights.
Wow, that's a pretty hands-on approach. It's like they're constantly reminding themselves that behind all the data points are real people with real lives and real experiences.
And that human-centric approach extends to their commercialization strategies as well.
Hmm.
Remember how we talked about NPS, the Net Promoter Score,
Mhm.
being a key metric for them?
Yeah, it's pretty unusual for a platform to prioritize client satisfaction so highly, especially alongside ad revenue. But how does that actually play out in their day-to-day operations?
So there's a really cool department. It's called the Marketing Laboratory. And it's not just about selling ad space. It's about actually providing consulting services to help businesses understand the nuances of the platform and craft successful campaigns.
So it's less about, here's your ad slot, good luck, and more about, let's work together to create something that genuinely resonates with our community.
That's a pretty refreshing approach to advertising.
It is. And then they go even further with Redcase, which is this quarterly event where they showcase successful campaigns and encourage knowledge sharing between employees and advertising partners.
So it's like they're building a collaborative ecosystem where everyone is learning from each other and striving to create a better experience for both users and businesses.
Exactly. And they're not afraid to tweak the rules to maintain that balance. Like, remember when they introduced group chats? That was a direct response to user feedback about feeling bombarded by businesses?
Oh, right. So they're giving users more control over their interactions, which in turn creates a more positive experience for everyone involved. Precisely. It's all about creating the sustainable ecosystem where everyone feels valued and respected.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what makes Xiaohongshu so unique. They're not just building a platform, they're actually cultivating a culture, a way of life that celebrates authenticity, beauty, and human connection.
Okay, I get it. So we've got this picture of a company that's really walking the talk, living its values in every aspect of the business. But honestly, it all sounds a bit too good to be true. Can they really maintain this approach as they grow and face pressure from investors to, maximize profits?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? It's a delicate balancing act for sure. But there's one more example from the article that I think really highlights their commitment to long-term value over short-term gains.
Okay, I'm all ears. What is it?
So it's how they handle advertising revenue. Instead of trying to squeeze every last dollar out of their clients, they focus on helping those businesses actually grow organically on the platform.
So it's not about forcing them to spend more. It's about empowering them to build genuine, sustainable businesses within the Xiaohongshu ecosystem.
You got it. And they measure their own success by how many clients are actually making money, not just by the overall ad revenue they generate.
That's a pretty bold approach. It takes patience and a deep understanding of the platform's unique dynamics.
And it shows a level of commitment to their values that's honestly kind of rare in the tech world these days.
Yeah, this is really eye-opening. But I have to admit, I'm still a bit skeptical. It all sounds so idealistic. I'm curious to know if there are any cracks in this picture-perfect facade, any challenges they're facing that might reveal the limitations of their approach.
I get where you're coming from. It's always good to be skeptical. No system is perfect, and it's super important to look at things with a critical eye. And that's exactly what we'll do in the final part of our deep dive. We'll explore some of the potential challenges and contradictions inherent in Xiaohongshu's model.
Okay, so we've spent a good chunk of time now really admiring Xiaohongshu's unique approach to community and commerce. But, like you said, no system is perfect. So are there any cracks in this seemingly flawless facade? What challenges do you think they might be facing as they try to scale this whole model?
You make a really good point. I think one potential challenge is maintaining that sense of authenticity as the platform grows and starts to attract more mainstream users and businesses.
Yeah.
It's easy to be niche and exclusive when you're small, right?
Yeah.
But how do you preserve that special feeling when you have millions of people joining the party?
Right. It's like that indie band you love that suddenly blows up and gets super popular. Sometimes it loses a bit of its magic. Is there anything in the article that hints at how Xiaohongshu might be trying to address this specific challenge?
Well, they definitely seem aware of it. The article mentions that they're constantly fine-tuning their algorithms and community guidelines to combat, inauthentic content and behavior. And they're also very selective about the brands they actually allow on the platform, prioritizing those that really align with their values.
So it's a constant balancing act, like walking a tightrope between, growth and maintaining that curated community feel. But let's flip this around for a second. Isn't there a risk that this emphasis on beauty and aspirational lifestyles could be, well, a bit problematic?
That's a great question. And it's something I've been thinking about too. Could this focus on a certain aesthetic contribute to unrealistic expectations or even, reinforce societal pressures?
Yes.
This is definitely a valid concern.
Especially considering how much influence social media platforms have on our perceptions of ourselves and, the world around us.
Exactly. And it's something that Xiaohongshu will need to navigate really carefully as they grow. Perhaps they can leverage their emphasis on user feedback, to make sure they're promoting a healthy and diverse range of beauty ideals.
Yeah, maybe they could even partner with mental health organizations or create campaigns that promote body positivity and self-acceptance.
Now, that's a great idea. It would be interesting to see how they address these types of concerns as they evolve. But even with those challenges, I think there's some really valuable lessons to be learned from Xiaohongshu. They've shown that it's possible to create a thriving online community that's both commercially successful and, genuinely human-centered.
It's a good reminder that maybe, just maybe, there's a different way to do business in the digital age, one that prioritizes genuine connection over cold, hard metrics. But I guess the question is, can this model actually be replicated? Is Xiaohongshu just a lucky anomaly, or could other platforms learn from their success?
That is the million-dollar question. I don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately. But I think Xiaohongshu has provided a pretty compelling blueprint for other platforms that are, struggling to balance user needs and business objectives.
Yeah, it's like they've cracked a code that others can learn from. But it's going to require a fundamental shift in mindset, a willingness to prioritize long-term value over short-term gains.
Exactly. And it's not going to be easy. It'll take constant vigilance, a deep understanding of your community, and a genuine commitment to putting people first. But I think the rewards are definitely worth it.
Totally agree. It's inspiring to see a platform that's not just chasing clicks and engagement, but actually trying to build something meaningful and lasting.
Absolutely. And it all comes back to those two core principles, authenticity and beauty. When you embrace those values, not just in your marketing, but in every single aspect of your business, you create something special, something that resonates with people on a deeper level.
Well, I think we've done a pretty deep dive into the world of Xiaohongshu today. I'm walking away feeling both inspired and a bit challenged. It's given me a lot to think about in terms of how we approach community and commerce in the digital age.
Me too. It's a good reminder that even in this fast-paced, data-driven world, human connection is still the most powerful force out there.
And that's what makes Xiaohongshu so fascinating. They've managed to tap into that power and create something truly unique. So to our listeners, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive as much as we have. And maybe, just maybe, it's sparked some new ideas about how you can bring a bit more authenticity and beauty into your own corner of the world.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.